Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry, joined by Thomas and Terry today because we love the alliteration. That's right. So we need to talk about Marco Silva. A lot of people, a lot of Everton supporters have seen enough of Silva. They are thinking it's time for Silva to be out. So we were going to discuss that today. So, Terry, let's start with you. I'm going to take something that you wrote to the Toffee Blues, like Twitter messaging community, and pretend like it's mine and feed it to you for you to blab about it. Terry, is it fair for us to judge Marco Silva at this phase, considering the fact that he's had a lot of injuries this season in particular?
Yeah.
That was totally my idea to ask that question and not Terry's.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of, there's games, every manager has injuries, every squad has injuries throughout the season. The games that we've played when we've had players injured, could we have done better? Could we have set up better? Could we have played differently? Yeah, definitely. I think the formation's a bit stale. I understand why he plays it at the minute, because I think the change that he may want to implement is dependent on Gbamin playing, and without Gbamin fit, I think he's just probably played it safe and gone back to the 4-2-3-1 that most of the players are familiar with. But at this point, it's clear for everyone that it's not working. So criticism is fair in that regard. Could have done better, should have done better, especially against the teams like Aston Villa, who didn't play that well against us, frankly. Bournemouth, we sort of gifted them that win, with some of the mistakes we made. Can't really blame Silva for that, the individual mistakes. Entirely, you can blame him for some things. And Sheffield United, obviously. Big picture wise, no. I don't want to say you can't blame him, but my whole point is, I don't see how you can sack a manager, which a lot of people want to do at this point, when two of the key players he's bought in the summer have been missing for a few weeks now, and one will carry on being missing for a while because of the nature of the injury. Last season, if we'd have played and we didn't have Gomez or Idrissa Gueye, we'd have really, really struggled, because they were our two central midfielders. They were the engine of the whole team. And right now we're playing without Andre Gomez and the replacement for Idrissa Gueye, so we are down to absolutely crucial players. And whilst that doesn't mean you can write off all the games until they're back, it just sits uneasily with me when people are saying, the manager's got to go, and give him a chance to use the players he's bought in the summer. It's 7 games. It doesn't mean that all the defeats have been they don't matter because there was no Gbamin or there was no Gomez or what have you. But I'd like to see what Silva does when he has his team fit, when he's got. Greg O'Keefe mentioned in The Athletic that the idea was in the summer to play Gbamin as a traditional number 6. He's been brought in for that specific role, with Delph and Gomez in front of him, and that would completely change the team. It would change the way the midfield works. The forwards would play much further up the pitch. You might see more goals from them. You might see it might be a totally different Everton team. And until we see that, I just don't want to see any. For me, I just don't see any logic in changing manager. There's a million other things as well I can touch on for not wanting to change manager. But just to that point, you can't really make an informed decision on him until you've seen what he actually has planned to do with the players he bought. He's playing with 2 key midfielders missing. I think a lot of managers around the league, if they had 2 of their starting midfielders missing, they would also struggle.
I guess, and I'll give this question to you, Terry, because it's fair, and then I'll move to Thomas. How long do you wait?
For me,
Because I was sitting there, I was thinking, yeah, that makes total sense, Terry. But then I'm like, gosh, what if these players are out for a significant amount of time? Like they come right back and then they get hurt again, which is possible.
well,
You know.
in that regard, you obviously have to change gears, because then it's how he handles long term injuries. That you can't, oh well, we'll wait for next season kind of thing. But there's three criteria for changing the manager, and I don't think we should sack Marco Silva. I don't think we will, and I really don't think we should. But I'm not attached to him in the sense of never sack him. I don't think he's this all-conquering brilliant manager. I just think it's really premature to speak like this, because for me there's three criteria for changing manager. There's I'll start that again. For me there's three criteria for changing manager. One, is there someone better to replace him with? Obviously there may be, we don't know. Could be Marcel Brands could have the perfect person to replace him, but right now, if you ask me, and if you ask a lot of people online, it's the prevailing argument seems to be Mikel Arteta. Okay, complete unknown. No one knows whether he's going to be any good. Could be a bit, could be brilliant, could not work. A total mystery. Jose Mourinho, completely unrealistic for me. I know he's available. I know he's on TV a lot, and he's sort of that sort of Damocles above every manager's head, just lingering there, where every time there's a bad performance for a manager under pressure, Jose's there. But come on, Jose Mourinho would not buy a house when he was the manager of Manchester United. He lived in a hotel like Alan Partridge. He's just he's not going to come to Everton. It's just not going to work, because he costs £15 million a season in salary, which, even if you're willing to pay it, that's probably going to make any chairman bulk. And he probably can't make our players play his style, because he plays a very specific low block, compact, quick counter attack and play. We haven't got the players to do that, and we can't now just go on another spending spree and completely re-kit the squad. We've built a squad under Brands which suits a certain style of manager, and that's not Jose Mourinho. Even if he would come here, which I don't think he would, frankly, personally, whether you agree with me or not, that's it. So whether there's someone to replace him with, whether you have seen enough from that manager in that season. This is what we did last time. I think we jumped too early on Koeman. Koeman probably would have went eventually, but look at the state we ended up in when we jumped too early on Koeman. We ended up with David Unsworth in charge for about a month and a half, and it was a disaster. We were scrambling around, offering money out for Watford to take Silva. Didn't take it. Obviously, we know what happened there. He got sacked, and we ended up getting him anyway. Grasped for whoever was available. Sam Allardyce. Back to square one. If we were to sack Marco Silva with less than 10 games of the season gone, when he hasn't even used two of his key players properly yet, hasn't got Moise Keane settled in, hasn't got all the things he set up in the summer going yet. What he's going to turn around and say, well, you didn't give me a chance. You didn't. I was going to make these big changes, but you sacked me after 8-9 games. I don't know what else to tell you. And then all we'll end up doing is, best case scenario, grasping around and getting another. Bear in mind, best case scenario is another Silva type manager, a sort of gamble on an unknown manager in this league, who won't have the benefit of a full 12 months. With the squad. And third and finally, if you look like you're going to get relegated, then that's all bets are off. Then obviously that's doesn't matter. The other two take less precedent than that. If you look like you're going to go down, you have to make a change, and make a severe and drastic change. But let's be realistic. It's never going to happen. We were absolutely terrible in that Allardyce, Koeman, Unsworth mess scenario, and we still finished 8th. There's now too much quality, too much investment, too much built up in about the top 10 clubs to ever go down. There will never be there will never be a season where there aren't 3 worst clubs. I know no one suggested. Well, I was about to say I know no one suggesting we'll go down, but there probably is. But that's the only third criterion. Obviously, all the patience, all the look for a better manager kind of thing. That obviously just had got out the window if we look like we're going to go down. But I don't think it's that. I think we've got the luxury of being able to wait for either Silva to turn it around when he gets his players available, or to bide our time until the right replacement is out there. And I don't think any of those criteria are satisfied.
So let's move on to Thomas, because I forgot what he sounds like.
I realised in the end, while I was saying, I was like, I hate the way I'm explaining this. I've gone full Paul. I've started going around in circles and yeah. So, John, please chop that up as much as you like. Make me sound coherent. I'd really appreciate that.
Just take out every 5th word. That won't be tough to edit at all.
I was actually John. Reading on the train going, I'm going to mention those 3 points, and I botched it completely. So I blame you, Gerry.
Oh, yeah, well, join the club. Get in line. The Gerry blame train.
So, sorry everyone who's nodded off, but Thomas is we've woke Thomas up now, so you go.
Well, yeah, luckily you've left me a lot to talk about there. Plenty more avenues to explore. Well, basically, underline is I don't think Marco Silva should be sacked. It kind of just needs to be said straight away. I think, without repeating what Terry said.
It's alright, they're going to cut a lot of it out anyway, so
we've got to wait to see when Silva has all the players at his disposal, what the tactics he wants to play is. There's plenty said about he's too stubborn, he's stuck in his 4-2-3-1, he's refusing to change it. He doesn't have all of his players, he doesn't have all the personnel that he needs. So when he first came in, one of his first interviews, he said he wanted to play a 4-3-3. Obviously, we haven't really seen that. We touched on it a bit last season at times with Sigurdsson kind of dropping back. But you can't judge a manager, his tactics, based on what he doesn't have. He needs all the players that he has signed to be able to implement his philosophy, the tactics that he wants to play. You look at other managers, and I think Klopp's a big example of that. He wanted to play fast attacking football. He wasn't playing that with Ricky Lambert and Balotelli and all that. He was given the time to sign the players he needed to play his football, and I think that's so important for Marco Silva, that he has signed Gbamin, and we don't know. Obviously, there's no way of being certain that he does want to play this 4-3-3 or whatever we want to imagine it's going to be, but we can be pretty certain that he is going to want to change tactics. There's no way he's come in thinking 4-2-3-1 is the only way we can play, and despite all the losses we're getting, we are sticking with that, and that is the best system for us to play. I think it's insulting to Marco Silva, to be fair, to say that he is that stubborn that even if he had all the best players at his disposal, he would sit there in his 4-2-3-1 and think there isn't a problem here. We're losing to Sheffield United and Bournemouth, but we'll stick using it because I reckon it'll work eventually. I think obviously it's not proven or anything, but I think he's a much better manager than that. I think he's a much more intelligent manager than that. So once he does have all the players at his disposal that he can kind of play his system, I think that's when we can start judging him. If we're still losing when he doesn't have all the players to change his system, when we're not getting results, then that's the worrying thing. If we're not playing attacking football, if we're not winning games, if we're not breaking the best team, the most defensive teams down, I think that's when you start judging Marco Silva based on what he actually wants to do. And I think another important thing is Gylfi Sigurdsson. There's been so much said about him this season. Is he going to adapt to the kind of sitting a bit further back? Obviously, he's kind of always played in that number 10 position, and obviously left wing under David Unsworth, but we won't bring that back up. But when he's played in that number 10 position, we don't know if he's willing to then come back into the 4-3-3. And because he has been such an important player for us, and he does offer so much in that number 10. Obviously, I'm not saying we can afford to build a whole team around Gylfi Sigurdsson, but I'm saying he has to show that he's willing to drop back, because that is pretty much it. To go from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3, it's kind of that number 10 kind of central attack midfielder out and out. If they're more adaptable to play in the 4-3-3 in a midfield 3, and then for the wingers to push further on. Like, for Sigurdsson, if he doesn't adapt, because I'd imagine Marco Silva's asked him to play in the 4-3-3. Obviously, we're still imagining things here, but for me, and obviously I'm not suggesting we base Marco Silva entirely on Gylfi Sigurdsson. But if Sigurdsson doesn't drop back in that 4-3-3, and we do get all the players back and Sigurdsson's still there, I think that might be quite a telltale of the personnel he's got. Obviously, Sigurdsson, has he been a passenger this season? He's created all these chances. I'm not sure I even believe that stat that I saw today, that he's created like some of the most chances in the Premier League. I think he's been incredibly poor for most of the season so far. But I think once Silva has all the players that he needs to play his system that he wants to play, I think that's when you can start judging him. You know, where's he's managed at Hull going in a relegation battle. There's no way he was going to come in then bringing in Umar Niasse on loan. There's no way he was actually implementing his system there, his tactics there, and he didn't really get enough time at Watford, and he didn't get more than a window. Obviously he's had 2 transfer windows with us now. He has signed quite a few players, he spent so much money, whatever, but he can only implement his system when he has the players that he signed and he knows that can fit into that role. And I think when Gbamin and Gomez then come back into the team, that's awful.
I'm so going to start that. Gbamin and Gomez. That's fantastic.
So
sorry, keep going.
When they come back into the team, if he's still insisting on those 4-2-3-1 and it's not working, we judge him then. If he's playing the 4-3-3 and it's working, that's when we judge him, when he does have all the players. I know this is pretty much what Terry said, but you know, we all do have the same opinion that Marco Silva should stay. He can't be judged until, personally, I don't think even the end of the season, unless it comes to, you know what, like February, March, and we're sat in the relegation zone, which we won't be. You look at teams like Newcastle, wow, they are in a decline. You know, Steve Bruce came out in an interview and said he doesn't believe in tactics, he just believes in having a go. That's not what Marco Silva thinks. I think Marco Silva is much more tactically aware than that, and I think he's got to be given the time. Pretty much, I'm going around in circles again here, but he's got to be given the time with his players to implement his system, and at least I think until the end of the season to show, will he turn results around, and will we eventually be able to break down teams who will just defend against us?
The kind of change that he wants to implement takes time. People don't understand that. He inherited a really poor squad, and the clubs took a while to, you know, recycle it out, and it still isn't finished. There's still players, you know, who were getting game time who we probably, you know, would prefer not to be using and have upgrades on. Yeah, I think I understand, like, supporters in general have been trained now to sack the manager whenever there's a poor run of form, but we want to make a real change at the club and, you know, transition from being the team we were after, you know, a botched few years of, you know, going through managers and different players. The kind of change we want to make takes time. We won't, you know, last season was a lot. Last season and last summer was very much about recycling the squad and getting rid of a lot of players who, you know, weren't ever going to play and had a massive drag factor financially and, you know, hindered us from getting some targets. It's the second season under this manager. We don't actually know what changes he's going to implement going forward. He hasn't had the chance to yet. These really good teams in the league, Pep Guardiola with City's resources and an amazing team to walk into, took a full season to change. Liverpool, they were terrible when they first had Klopp, but then eventually they got it right, and now, you know, unfortunately they're you know, quite a good team. We can't just hit the reset every time there's some bad results. We're not the type of club who need to, you know, be so panicky that we need to change manager. You know, it's not working because if we have a bad season, we'll go down. No, we've got the luxury of letting something bear out and seeing, you know, what and if in several months we're terrible or we look like we're going to get relegated or these changes that Silva's implemented don't work, and okay, someone better. But right now it's like, come on, you need to give him more of a chance to implement the style he wants. For all we know, this season, when we get towards the end of it, that's it, we're ready to go. You'll see that the changes have been settled, and we just need one more summer of a few key players, and then we're off to the races. We're getting in the Champions League spots and everything. It's just, you can't just keep starting from scratch after every run of bad results. I'm not saying you can't, you know, expect better or expect better results or better performances, by all means, but sacking the manager should not be the trigger reaction every time we lose badly or have a run of bad performances. You need to be a little bit more patient than that, and it's frustrating because Silva could be a really good manager, and then he's the change and the planning that's gone in to this current team that we're building. It could be literally a cup like 10, 15, 20 games away, but we're looking to we'll back to the beginning, another season of transition while this new manager puts in a new philosophy, and then we've got to and then takes until next season. And I just wish football fans in general, it's not just an Evertonian thing, had a little bit more patience, because we have the luxury of not having to worry about our Premier League status. There's too much money invested, there's too much quality there. We can afford to see how it goes, and it might really pay off. We just don't know. People are a little bit too impatient for me.
I've always gotten the impression at moments like this, people feel bad and they want to feel like things are happening. They want to feel like things are, they feel helpless. I know I do. I'm kind of like, damn, we're playing like shit. What can we change? How can we change it? It's not in my hands. So people immediately are like, they think we need more signings, we need to sack the manager. You know what I mean? Like they jump to the things that they immediately link to. They think, okay, well, the manager needs to change tactics. Well, it's true. The hope is he will when he has the people he needs. You know what I mean? When he has everybody at his disposal. We'll see. I know Toffee Blues John put this tweet out there, and John, you can maybe cut this into the beginning of this video, okay? But Toffee Blues John put this tweet out there in the Twitterverse saying, what are your current thoughts on Marco Silva? Would you sack him? And if yes, who would you replace him with? Be realistic. And basically 69% said keep him, 31% said sack him. And I'm not, I've seen some Arteta shouts, with Unsworth or Cahill, Jose Mourinho, Benitez, Moyes. It's a lot of the same names we've heard before, So, Marcelo Bielsa. It's a lot of the same names we've heard before. A lot of the same teams, the players that are the same managers that we, a lot of other people have wanted us to have before. So, anyway, I need to wrap this up, guys, because my camera's about to die. So that's what we've got. We're gonna see what happens. I think I have a feeling the Watford Cup match is gonna be big, really big. So we'll see. Anyway, so that's it for this particular segment. If you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. If you want more Thomas, check his Twitter feed. He'll tell you when and where. He'll have some content dropping on the Toffee Blues website. Additionally, keep an eye out for Terry on the Liverpool Echo fan jury. And that's all I got. So pop on over to the podcast if you want to hear a quiz between these two guys, cage match. Their brains will be doing this. It'll be really competitive, like this. Okay, so check out the podcast if you want that. Otherwise, guys, I'll talk to you next time. Everybody out there, hope you're doing all right. Bye.